Montreal Canadiens training camp news for September 24th, 2021. Hoffman and Price out. Sami Niku signs. Jonathan Drouin looks great. Hey everybody, I'm Rick. Welcome to Talking Habs, where you get your daily fix of Bleu Blanc Rouge. So we got a lot of news coming out of camp today. This is the third day of camp. The first day was just physicals and weigh-ins and such. And there's some news coming out now. So there's a signing. I had not reported on a PTO that was given out. And surprising news about Hoffman and Price. But I've got it explained, and let's get right into it. So first up, there's some sad news, and condolences go out to defensive coach Luke Richardson on the passing of his dad, Glenn Richardson. I don't know from what, but it's it's very sad news, especially for him at a time like this where he's really busy with the camp, and it's very distracting and very sad. And I wonder what they're going to do if he's going to take any time away, for a little while. So rest in peace, Glenn Richardson. That was his dad's name. Unsigned defenseman Cody Golubeff. He was signed to a PTO, which is a professional tryout, and that was on Monday, September 20th. So Golubeff has played 160 games in the NHL in his career so far. He's played with the Columbus Blue Jackets, Colorado Avalanche, the Ottawa Senators, and the Detroit Red Wings. In those 160 games, he's put up 25 points, and he has 76 penalty minutes. So not an offensive defenseman. From what I understand, there is an injury to Josh Brook, which I'll mention in a minute, and I would expect that Montreal will, if they sign him to a contract, that he'll probably spend a lot of time in Laval, kind of replacing Brook down there. So, kind of don't expect him to be a Montreal player, but it's good depth. Subscribe and ring that notifications bell, and hey, give a thumbs up. You can never have too many defensemen. Habs actually make a signing, and they signed defenseman Sami Niku to a 1-year, 2-way contract that'll pay him $750,000 in the NHL, and a pretty hefty, I think, for AHL, $425,000 down in the AHL. He has a $50,000 signing bonus to go along with that, so minimum of $475,000 this year. He'll be an RFA next season, which is a good thing. He's 24 years old. So Montreal will have some control if they want to keep him, and they can offer him give him a qualifying offer, and they can hang on to him. He's a Finnish hockey player. He was drafted in 2015, 7th round, and 198th overall by the Jets. In 54 games with Winnipeg, he went 2 goals, 8 assists for 10 points. He played junior with the Manitoba Moose of the WHL, and in 114 games played there, he had 22 goals, 58 assists for 80 points. So a good depth move by Montreal, and you can see that they're addressing the need for puck-moving defensemen in the system. So this, Niku is not doesn't have a ton of experience, hasn't established himself obviously as an NHL player, but another 7th rounder that's got potential. Montreal already has Jake Evans and Caden Primo were 7th round picks. So it's interesting to see what happens here. I imagine he'll be a depth player, probably end up in Laval, and that's why the 2-way contract. So Sami Niku signed by Montreal today. We want you to become a member of Talking Habs. This is surprising news. So Mike Hoffman failed his physical. He's among 5 players that failed their physical, and he did that with an LBI, which is a lower body injury. He apparently injured himself during his final skate before he came to Montreal, and instead of being on the ice, he ended up being in the trainers. What do they call that? The trainers, not booth. I don't know why I want to say booth. He's expected to miss the entire camp, and this is a big setback for him and for Montreal. Possibly he could miss. I didn't hear a number of games, but from what I'm reading, it looks like, he might miss the first 10 games of the season. So there's no timeline for his recovery as yet, but the good news is there won't be any surgery required for this, but it throws him off in his it's not a comeback year. It throws him off in his fresh start here in Montreal with a new team. Having to start out behind the 8 ball is really what it is. He'll be behind in getting used to the system, getting used to his teammates and all that. It's not great news, but he's a veteran. He should be able to adjust and handle it pretty well. It's very disappointing. Anybody thinking that he was going to start on that second line, well, he's not going to. Another Hab that failed his physical is Carey Price. Don't get worried about that because this was expected. So it was as expected, and that's according to Coach Dom. The coach said Price is skating, but not practicing with the team yet. He's still recovering from surgery to his meniscus. I kind of understand, as I've got a bad tear I got a small tear in my left and a complete tear in my right. So right now I'm waiting for MRIs and surgery myself. He had surgery, was after the expansion draft. If you remember, that's part of what they were hoping was going to keep Seattle from drafting him. So he's had the surgery, and they expected him to not be able to take too much part in training camp, although they did say it's very possible that he'll be back in time to have one start in the preseason games and have a little bit of practice time before he will be ready for opening night. Apparently, he'll be ready for opening night, and you can expect that if he is, he'll be starting. Josh Brook and Joel Teasdale. So if you're fans of these guys, they also failed their physicals. Both have knee injuries. Teasdale's still recovering kind of from, he had that bad ACL, MCL tear the year he was drafted or the year after, and that was in junior. The next year, he, I think, tore the same knee again. And I think at the end of this season had something happen. So he's still recovering. There's no timeline for him. I saw some people talking about Teasdale, asking me why I wasn't talking about Joel Teasdale, but I knew that he was injured and didn't expect that he would play much of a role for the Habs this year, but possibly be playing in Laval. So there's no timeline, as I said. And for Josh Brook, I believe he is also having surgery to his knee, and that's all I know about Josh Brook. Paul Byron, as expected as well, failed his physical, but that's not surprising. He's recovering from the hip surgery that he had that they said would keep him out for 5 months, which should drag into December, mid-December to maybe just at the beginning of the new year for Byron. So it's no surprise for Byron. Really, the surprise is Hoffman, because that just happened. It's an accident, and yeah, it's a shock, and it's going to be, I don't know if I'll say a setback for Montreal, but it's definitely going to be something they're going to have to adjust to. So another guy that's out but didn't fail his physical is Joel Edmondson is day-to-day. I'm not sure upper or lower body. I know he's skating on his own, and he's expected back soon, like any day, because it's day-to-day. So it's nothing to be worried about. There's a lot of camps still to go, and I think Edmondson will be fine. And one last guy who's not at camp, and you're all going to go, oh, no, is Brendan Gallagher is not at camp right now, but it's not anything physical. He's dealing with an unknown family issue. It's a private matter. They're not going to say what it is. But it's a family issue, and he's expected back. I'm filming this on Friday. He's expected back either tomorrow, Saturday, or on Sunday. So nothing to worry about. And, so Brendan Gallagher, when I saw that too, I was like, oh no, but it should be okay. Subscribe and ring that notifications bell. And, hey, give a thumbs up. The A's have it, with Montreal not naming a new captain this season to replace Shea Weber, because Shea Weber is either not, like, he's out for the season, the regular season, and possibly back for the playoffs, because that's rumors or speculation has it that he'll be back for the playoffs, but he's definitely out for the season. And whether he's out for the rest of his career or not, we don't know. But they said they weren't going to replace him as captain. He's still the captain and will only have the assistants or the alternates. So apparently Gally, and they said Gally will wear the A all season. They didn't mention Petrie, but I'm going to assume that was an oversight in the article that I read, that Gally and Petrie will have the A's all season, and apparently a rotating duo, because you can have 4, of assistants. And apparently leading off is Nick Suzuki and Tyler Toffoli, who were seen in team picks that were taken, I believe, on Wednesday to have an A on their sweater. So I haven't seen the picks, But the Nick Suzuki was kind of confirmed today on Twitter by a reporter. It might have been Eric Engels or Stu Cowan, reporting that Nick Suzuki will be wearing an A on his sweater for I don't know exactly how long. So to go along with his new A on his sweater, Nick Suzuki's been working hard in the offseason. He's been working on a couple of different aspects of his game, a few different things. First off, that I read about was explosiveness. So no, he's not going to go to center ice and blow himself up. That's not what it means. It's his skating. He's got to work on his skating. A knock on him has always been that he's not fast enough. So he's working on getting that explosive speed, that gives him separation from whoever's trailing him or a defender and get away and make some room. And that way he can use to the best. How do I want to put that? Make the best of his skills. He's got a lot of skill, and by not being a little bit faster, it doesn't work always to his advantage. So if he can improve that explosiveness, I think Nick Suzuki is going to go from an expected elite great player to a superstar. If he can get that separation, get that time and space away from a defender, allow himself to do something with his hands and either create a passing play or score a goal himself, he'll be that superstar goal-a-game player that we all hope he'll turn out to be. So he's working on that. He's also working on, I think the quote is that he'd like to help replace some of the things that were lost with Phil Deneau's departure. And that's obviously in the faceoff circle and on the PK. So specifically those things were mentioned, that he's been working hard on the faceoffs and trying to get better. And I thought he was already a pretty good penalty killer, but trying to get better as a penalty killer to help replace, some of what Phil Deneau left us holding the bag, sort of, not having an adequate replacement for him. So, this is a great attitude from Nick Suzuki. And, I think Nick Suzuki's trying to work him. I don't know if it's an ego thing, but I think Nick Suzuki just wants to be the best hockey player that he can be all around, and he's working on it. So apparently in testing today in camp, it showed really well his explosiveness. So it's starting to work. And like I said, if he can get that distance away from people and break away, wow. So I'm going to show you what the white team and the red team look like. Apparently, the white team is going to play Saturday against the Maple Leafs, and the red team will play Monday against the Maple Leafs. Here is the red team. On defense, Matthias Norlinder skated with Ben Sherratt. Caden Gooley was paired with David Savard. And, of course, Joel Edmondson's absence is shaking up the pairings, and more than you normally expect in preseason. That's what he wrote. Jonathan Drouin is with Dvorak and Anderson. I believe, and I've read this, that when Brendan Gallagher does join the team, he should replace Anderson on that line. That is one of the two lines that you can probably look for going forward when they break camp to be how they start the season. Raphael Harvie Pinard is alongside Jake Evans and Yoel Armia on the other side. Jean-Sebastien D, Joshua Roy, Danik Martel, Michael Pizzetta, Jan Mishak, and Lucas Vadimo, and Gabriel Bork as the extra. Caden Gooley with Savard, Norlinder with Sherratt, Corey Sheneman with Chris Weidman, and Terrence Amorosa with Charles David Baudouin. And got Jake Allen and Michael McNiven as the goalies on that team. So like I said, that's the red team that's supposed to play against Toronto on the Monday game. We will be covering those games. All the games are on TSN, I think, except Saturday's game, which is on Sportsnet. So I'll be getting all the games. It looks like we're going to live stream all those games. So hopefully you guys will be there. The white team, which will be playing Saturday. So in that group, notably, he writes, Laurent Dauphin skated with Ryan Poehling and Arturi Lehkonen, while Romanov skated with Jeff Petrie. And that's interesting to see him paired up with Petrie a bit. So the white team lines are Toffoli, Suzuki, and Caulfield. And I heard from Dom, the coach, saying that they'd like that line to stay together. They're together because of the chemistry that they showed in the playoffs. He said they may not stay together all season. That'll depend, but he'd like to see them start the season. So was right on that one as well. Lehkonen, Poehling, Dauphin, as he said. Matthew Perreault on the left, Paquette in the center, Alex Belzile on the right, Brandon Baddock, Jean-Christophe Baudouin. I wonder, it's Baudin. I thought those were brothers, Baudouin and Baudin. I didn't notice it's spelled differently. And Alexandre Fortin. And you got Romanov and Petrie, Kulak and Gianni Fairbrother, Xavier Ouellet and Corey Golubeff, Louis Belpedio and Amber Zcaj. And Amber Zcaj could be a girl, you'd think, with the name Amber, but I don't know where he's from. I don't think I've got the pronunciation right. You got Caden Primo and Kevin Poulin in net, and those are the two teams that are going to be playing against. Like, I think you'll see those lineups alternating in the games, the preseason games, because they do have a back-to-back set. You got the Saturday and Monday, and then the next set, I believe Friday, Saturday, is back-to-back against Ottawa. Play this. Joe Drouin looking really, really good out on the ice today. That's a quote from one of the writers. Chemistry with Devo already showing, and Drew had 3 goals in practice today. That doesn't mean a lot, 3 goals in practice. They're scrimmaging, but apparently he's looking really good with Devo and Anderson. Devo is Christian Dvorak. I think that Drouin and Devo will stay together, and like I said earlier, I do believe Gallagher will replace Anderson when he's in camp, when he arrives. Drouin will get a good long look, lined up with Devo in camp, and should break camp as the second line. That's the opinion of some of the writers that I read that were already, covering this, that they kind of expect that Devo, and with Hoffman being out, I think it's kind of assured now. I don't think it's a question at this point. With Hoffman being out, because a lot of people thought, well, Hoffman will take that second line left wing position. But, I think that just opens the door for Drouin without a doubt, and I think that's going to work. But that's how I had them anyway. I wasn't in the mind that Hoffman would be there, but I think now if you are, you can put that out the window. And I'll play this one too.
Raphael Harvie Pinard of the Chicoutimi Saguenay.
All right, so Raphael Harvie Pinard, he's lining up early on, as you saw, with Jake Evans and Yoel Armia. Obviously, I'll say this as well. Those lines, that's not going to stay like that, right? It's early on in the training camp. They got to pare things down. Line combinations may be different, especially the bottom 6 and the pairings. I don't really expect Romanov with Petrie. So he's lining up with Evans and Armia right now. And one of the writers was saying you kind of can expect that if he does get a call up or he actually makes the team at some point, or maybe even the next season, he probably will be lining up with either those guys or exactly those type of players. So I think the Habs are going to give him a really good look at this camp. I expect to see him get a cup of coffee or two this season in the form of maybe there's an injury that happens. I mean, I'm hoping that Montreal doesn't suffer from a lot of injuries this season. The Mike Hoffman injury as camp starts kind of not a great omen. So if there's injuries and they might need him for an injury replacement, or I think he'll get at least a call up of a game or two to see how he looks in the NHL, because I think he's really close to being ready. So he was drafted, as everyone should know, in the 7th round in 2018. He was 201st overall, and he really does look like he's starting to he's getting close to being ready to make the team. And I really love this kid. I think he's going to be one of those rare 7th rounders that turns out to have a really good NHL career. So there you go. That's the roundup for the news today from training camp. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hey, check out that video over there.